So good evening, everyone. So we're going to make it as democratic as possible. First of all, thank you for all the speakers for opening up the conversation, but because we are basically here for the people that are listening. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to go a little bit into what exactly people want to hear and then try to optimize the whole thing, because especially we are also having a very optimum time. I'm not going to say less. So how many of you guys are developers in the cryptocurrency world? Raise of hand. No one? Good. How many of you guys are holders of cryptocurrency? How many of you have any coins? Okay, so like, can you just keep your hands up that I could just have, okay, so like 30%, good. If you want to talk, how many of you are going to buy some coins, either from the ICOs or from any other coins? Anybody? Okay, so maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. How many of you are more interested in ICOs than already existing coins? Okay, so I think, okay, people are changing their minds from time to time. Good. Okay, so now we have a little bit of more structure in order to basically start something. I really wish we could also touch base and try to talk about some of the real things that are happening right now in the market, but I'm just trying to go and try to start with exactly what people maybe would like to hear. We can start from any way you want, because I'm sure you guys all know everything, but you have different backgrounds, so that would be very good. You have to just give us 2 more seconds, you know, just for adjusting. Good. So if anybody wants to do some investment, I'm just going to say one thing in the beginning that they say, like in the trading, don't do your trading based on 3 E's. So it's entertainment, easy, money, and ego, right? So if you want to do something, you have to understand that what you're doing is something that's based on some facts. So that might be the whole thing that we want to basically start here. So if anybody wants to do any investment in the cryptocurrency world or the ICOs or any other form of investment, what do you think would be the most important thing that everybody have to see in the first place?
Okay, so maybe I will begin. Right now, I think that the most important thing, because it is not regulated right now, the most important thing to look at is the team that is behind the project, because it tells you a lot. The team will be able to deliver or not, and the team is also responsible for the website, for the legal aspect of the whole, either it's an ICO or a cryptocurrency, and also on the technical part. So all those three, all those aspects are very important. There are a lot of projects that are promising technologically, but for example, they lack background in the law aspect. And there are a lot of projects that, for example, are great from the aspect of regulations, but, well, they fail miserably at technology stuff. And we can see that all over the place. So this is important to do your research and see the project from this angle. And it is also important that they have some kind of existing I can find
Product?
Yes, experience within the community. So people who are doing successful products, they are not coming from nowhere. They are within the community, and they are actually evolving with the community as well. So I think the team and their backgrounds and their experience is the most important part.
If you don't mind, let me just, because we have a very limited time, I'm just going to change the topics that people have at least a little bit of every topic. If you don't mind, I'm also going to ask something from Jacek, because that would be the, you know, like the next step here. Maybe it's more about the legal points of the ICOs especially, because like established coins, they are a little bit more obvious about what would happen for them. But I'm not sure how many of you guys that started going for ICOs also read all the privacy policies and the things that comes with it. Because I don't remember, I think you were just talking about the, you know, like when you're taking an ICO, it's like literally like buying a ticket to the cinema. So that was a very good analogy, that people think like when they buy something, it's a share of a company, like an IPO or something. But how do you really feel like people have to react to that, number one? And number two, when something like the ban in China or right now in Russia and other countries would happen, how people have to understand their legal rights in order to react based on that?
It's just one quick answer to your first question. So I think that you, of course, when you are making an investment, you are paying attention to a lot of stuff. And cryptocurrencies or ICOs are not different here. So of course, when you are making investment in anything, you are looking at what is it and who is doing it, right? So and I totally agree with Vital that you have to look at the team, but it is exactly right. For example, on the VC market. What is different here in with ICOs and tokens is that, at least in my opinion, you have to look whether a token model actually makes sense, because tokens are not something useful for every company. Just a few or just some business models make sense with tokens and not without them. And now moving to the legal part, the legal stuff with ICO, the ICOs from the legal perspective, now it is, a totally wild west. It is something, when you look in, I was trying to do a research on ICO, on different ICO terms. So just gather terms and conditions, legal documents of the most popular ICOs. And then the first thing that I noticed was that many of them are no longer available. So, people are just making ICOs and removing legal documentations immediately after the ICO is completed. And, it is a very poor standard, because you as a token, or me as a token holder, you want to get into it, look what were your, or what are your legal rights, and you have no clue, you have no idea, because, the legal documentations was simply removed. This is unbelievable in the mainstream, on the mainstream financial markets. And also, when you look, when the documents are still available, and when you look into them, I made some statistics, and it occurs that most of the ICOs are done in Switzerland, Cayman Islands, or other even more exotic jurisdictions. And of course, the choice of jurisdiction is quite obvious. To make it as convenient and beneficial for the ICO organizer as it is possible. So you in these terms you have, in fact, sometimes you are reading explicitly that you as a token holder you have no rights whatsoever. Your token has no value, right? These are sentences taken from terms. So in fact, of course, you have to pay attention to the legal stuff, but at the time being, there are no standards whatsoever. Some of them are emerging, and Neufund also takes part in creating such standards. But at the time being, you have to be cautious with any ICO you are participating in, because there is a 95% chance that in fact you are legally you own nothing and you have no rights whatsoever.
I'm just going to ask another question from you, because you're an insider. So in the white, like in the West, that it's like everybody is going to kill everybody. So you're one of those guys with a gun. So people who want to basically go for an ICO, and you want to make that ICO. So what do you exactly feel like for a person who makes an ICO is the most important value for it? Because you had a very good point that like even a shady token can get a lot of money. So how do you want to forget about all the like all the clouds around it, and you really want to show your audience exactly what you're going to bring as a value?
Sorry for this word, but this useless tokens and this lack of regulation, which I was a part of during the IPO, is what pisses me off. And I would like it to be changed, because we are in the digital, digital algorithm controlled society because of the technology which is around us, and there is no simple due diligence connected to the law, to the legal part, which shows that my ICO is like a better than the useless token. Because useless token could write anything in the white paper, but they write that they don't have a white paper because it's the first honest. So I also want to do honest ICO, and I want people to believe me. So there should be standardization, and everything could be digitally checked. And That's why I am telling about this. It also refers to the startup industry. Everybody is talking about the startups, but you know, the startups with a good presentation are killed, are better than the startups which actually have a good technology which is delivered to the customers, and nobody checks that. And this maybe through the ICO will be completely redesigned and changed. That's why I cross fingers for the Neufund and such initiatives to like make the world a better place.
So again, from Vital, I have a question.
People want to get profitable, and it's like in the stock market. New Connect is the great, you know, I've been at New Connect, and I still believe that New Connect is a great idea, and many people believe it's a great idea, but a lot of people lost some money in the New Connect because people are not honest, even in the very regulated market. And if all ICOs are digital products, and digitally it can be checked. You can benchmark, you know, many things in code. You can even show the real clients, you know. I think that the question is that the investors are not always like do the homework, you know. They just want to get profitable, and this is how the bubble goes, you know. It can be also with some blockchain coins, you know. It's, you know, it's the business behind don't have to be checked. It have to be good, have to be showed a good way. But you know, I believe that it's better to do the businesses with the right. I don't have the word basics, the good start, the good technology, and this I would like to be like I would like to have a good due diligence for the technology and for the legal aspect of it.
Thank you. Just guys, let's just put the questions for after that, because we might answer your question anyway. So that would be a very good way, and Piotr can give us maybe like 2 or 3 more minutes after that we can put it for Q&A.
I just wanted to say, if you hear the question from the audience, please repeat the question, because that won't be heard on the film. We hear that in a room here, but they won't.
Okay. Just to touch on that topic also, how many of you guys have some savings in the bank? Good. And how many of you are happy with that saving? Oh my God, wow. So I've seen like 4 people. Like,
what do you mean?
Let's just sit down and talk about. No. I was just trying to say that's one of the main reasons that people are going to the ICOs, because as far as the reality shows different ways, but if you look at the charts, I don't know if any one of you would like to really share like the profits that you had from your like PLN or like euro dollar in normal banks and the amount of the savings that you have after 6 months. And if you just try to put it close to any other normal currencies that goes into the cryptocurrency, then that's why you can understand that lots of people are trying to jump into the wagon of the cryptocurrency and try to move forward. But that's also the point that I want to basically ask is, there are many ways in order to participate in a cryptocurrency ecosystem. You can be a miner, you can be a holder, you can be a day trader, you can basically go with the high and low and try to make money out of that. And as a person that you work for a long time in this ecosystem, which part of this would you think would be the most important one? Because there are people that they're selling some mining equipment so they can try to buy it. There are some people that they are basically just writing some advices on some Facebook group, and then people try to go and buy the ICOs right after that. Maybe that's also a good point to say, guys, everything that we say here is not a financial advice. So everything that you have here, just try to just take it as a, you know, like a notion and try to go and try to dig deeper in that. So
one more disclaimer, it is not a legal advice as well.
Also, thank you for, that's why we have a lawyer in the panel. So, which part of these activities, from your personal point of view, it would be more interesting and more profitable?
Okay, so from my personal point of view, the most profitable part of investing in the cryptocurrency world will be investing in the companies that are participating in this industry. Because, well, on the gold rush in the United States in 19th century, if I remember correctly, the most money was made not on mining the gold, but on making the shovels. And exactly the same may apply to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So by putting your money into the companies that are actually creating viable products, you not only invest in something that will probably have greater returns than the investing in the cryptocurrency itself, because well, you don't really know which cryptocurrency will actually be the last one to stay. There will be probably money, but many of them also will probably die. And with investing in companies, you also don't know which companies you should invest, but they can change their business model, for example. They can move to other projects. And also this money supports the system itself, because those companies can create products that will actually increase the value of the system itself.
So yes, to go back a little bit into non-financial advisory and non-legal, but from your personal point of view, if people are trying to put their money into a currency that is basically, first of all, is totally virtual, and at the same time, people usually are not like lawyer or financial advisor. So we have a big gap, first of all, here, that when I want to do something legal and I want to go to court, I definitely first try to discuss it with my lawyer. If I want to do something and I want to basically do an investment, I usually talk to my financial advisor. But people are just going after an ICO based on some YouTube videos and some Facebook post. Why do you think like lawyers are not trying to stay here and not to just say that all of the conversations that I have here is not a legal advice, and everything that you see on Facebook and on, I don't know, like even on a trading view and all the other places are just written that these are not financial advices. So why don't you think we're not going to have a market that normal people without these backgrounds can try to get those legal advices, those financial advisories, and try to basically invest their money in a more secure way?
In fact, you know, I've been in the space for a few years now, and it was interesting. I was seeing how it becomes interesting for lawyers over the last months and years. But you know, now is the time when lawyers are invading the space. It is quite interesting to see when the real money emerge in the field. There are many entrepreneurs that are thinking about doing their own ICOs. The lawyers also became interested because they see a lot of potential clients around, and this is a simple economic market mechanism, but this is something that is seen among many professionals, among many firms, among many advisory industries in the field. So ICO market now, today, is something totally different than the ICO market, I don't know, 6 or even 3 months ago. It is much more mature, and there are a lot more people that can help you with picking up the right ICO for you. So there are websites when you can compare different ICOs from business, technology and legal perspective. There are a lot of advisory companies. They are funds and financial intermediaries that are investing in different ICOs, and they can decrease your risk in investing in ICOs. So this market, as I said, is still a wild west. Both from finance, business, and legal perspective, but it is maturing very quickly. So that's just a matter of time when professional services around this market will emerge.
And I want to say that it's nothing new. Generally, Kickstarter, everybody knows Kickstarter. This is like a model of acquiring the crowd without the middleman, which was the Kickstarter. Everybody can do his Kickstarter on his page using white paper and some technology. And also from the perspective of the Bitcoin, which is like growing, and even if it's going down, it's still growing from the perspective of long-term investment. So what I'm saying, it's been a while when this technology Kickstarter, Bitcoin, and many other technologies were on the market. And right now, we are just profiting. The successful ICOs are profiting from these technologies and from these business models. But from my point of view, it would be best if it would go more global and were like a main way of the acquiring capital. So to make this happen, we have to have some rules, and I hope these rules will be as simple as.
Okay. Good. Just a little bit of, how many more minutes do we have? Okay, very good. Thank you. It's like almost half an hour. We want to touch lots of bases in order to clear the situation, because it's a big warning, and I hope that you just get one of these things at least very serious, and that's the point that when people are talking about the fact that there is going to be blood on the street, trust me that there is going to be like that. So as much as I encourage everybody in order to be closer to this ecosystem, you know, like, you have to be cautious. You have to basically read things, and as I said, it is not an easy money. Lots of money that, you know, like pours to this ecosystem are people that they used to be on casinos. And now they're just basically putting their money into one of these ICOs, and it was like just whatever would happen, right? Because like tomorrow when I'm going to be back in with my friends, and I was like, you remember now this time I just lost my money in a trading business. It was not on a gambling, and I just didn't put it on a Russian roulette, right? So you have to understand that some people are basically driving their money and their businesses like that. So in order to be different and try to look a little bit more mature into doing these things, please read as much as possible and try to connect to the guys, you know, like that they know a little bit more about these stuff. One question, again, any one of you guys, you can answer that. Right now we have a big problem, especially in China. I can see that as of yesterday, 2 days ago, like Russia also started going to this game. I heard some stuff also like the day before that even UK started to be basically a little bit more restricted in the regulation. What we can see that Neo is down, Monero is down, Monaco is down, but Omise Go is up. Another Chinese coin that when all the market is going down is going up. Is this just the relationship between a big corporation and a coin that we have to make it that serious, or it's just about the productivity or the real usage of that?
Well, from the problems which you mentioned, I think that there are only opportunities, because still the people holding bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies are free to invest everywhere they want, and still, if you are, they are still safe harbors around the world. Maybe not as safe as Cayman's Islands. Maybe Cayman's Islands are the best example of being safe, because you think about, you know, not completely legal business holding money there. But what I want to say that still the world needs like optimization, like with the global warming, also about the cryptocurrencies. And I think that from the perspective of the person who is preparing the ICO, it's a good news, but anyway, it shows how much that the world, the particular countries weren't prepared for such a big success. So the governments are panicking a little bit, and I had some inside stories that there may be other story behind it, but. You know, when something happens, usually some groups are profiting and some are not. From the point of ICO, making ICO, I think it's a good news.
Okay, so I think the question was, is the backing of a big corporation is required or is enough to, I don't know Omise Go myself very well, but I think that maybe it's not enough, but it's something. It's something that there will be projects made by big corporations, and there are banks getting on a train, and there are big institutions. Microsoft is hosting blockchain on Azure. So those projects are needed because small companies won't be able to create the whole ecosystem that will, quite frankly, I believe that the whole ecosystem will be changed very much in the coming years. And to do this, we need big players. We need their big capital and their know-how as well to do so. So I'm not really surprised that a project that is backed by big corporation is getting hyped up. And well, the next step is actually a country incorporating cryptocurrency, I believe. Well, Estonia tried to do that, but I don't know if I have the current information, but I think European Bank had something to say about that. So there will be a lot of pressure from different groups of interests. Current banking system and financial system will be trying to regulate Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and ICOs in a way that they become not viable. And I think we should fight that, because the main advantage of those projects is their ability to span the globe and make many processes like IPOs and money transfers faster, better, and more reliable. And those regulations can kill it. So we should be very careful. We should regulate, but we should also remember about all those traits that we would like to keep.
Jacek, I'm going to ask another very important question, and that's about security coins. Because we always have this issue with the idea of anti-money laundering, KYC, and that's the idea that blockchain brings transparency to lots of transactions. But at the same time, we have lots and lots of coins that right now, especially talking about pump, and all of those privacy coins are getting a big attention. And at the same time, these coins are basically making the AML and all the other activities in order to have transparency and bring transparency to blockchain under a big question mark. So do you think from a legal point of view, can we have all these coins, and especially because it's a decentralized system, right? So we don't have a control in order to say, stop doing those coins. Those coins have every reason to do that. But from a legal point of view, do you think these are good activities in order to have it on the ecosystem for the cryptocurrency, or we have to somehow move into a different direction?
You know, I think that among legal problems that are related to cryptocurrencies and blockchain applications in general, AML is totally, you know, for sure, it is on my top 3 of legal problems, because, you know, it is really interesting, because on the one hand, as you said, we have, you know, all those cryptocurrencies that, you know, ensure privacy and anonymity, even to a much larger extent than Bitcoin. There are a lot more privacy and anonymity focused cryptocurrencies than Bitcoin that you can use, and you are untraceable. But on the other hand, the question is whether we would like to apply AML to all what is happening in the digital world, because, you know, in fact, the concept behind anti-money laundering and KYC, know your customer, is to, you know, monitor financial transactions and what's more, the most important financial transactions. So, for example, those that are above a certain level, like above 10,000 euros, or something like that. And, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense with bank transfers. It makes sense with cryptocurrency transfers, or at least conversion between cryptocurrency and fiat money, because it is a kind of an entry to a mainstream financial system. You hold a cryptocurrency and you can convert it into a fiat money and enter with that money into the financial system. But on the other hand, we are seeing, you know, a lot of tokens emerging. For example, there are, you know, tokens that are tied to some real things, like, you know, real estate tokens, or I don't know, chair tokens. You have
dentistry tokens is my favorite. You can pay for your dentist.
Yeah, and you have totally crazy ideas how you can tokenize, you know, everything in the world. And the question is, are you going to apply AML laws to, you know, exchange between chair token and table token, just because it is, you know, close to cryptocurrency and can be used in a similar way as a cryptocurrency? This is, I think, it's a huge issue that we are going to you know, to deal with in the coming years, because in fact, you know, when you have chair tokens that have real value, they can be used for money laundering in the same way as Bitcoin can be used to money laundering. And then the question is, should we apply AML laws to it? And if so, if we have, everything tokenized and we apply AML laws to everything, then we might end up in a situation when any economic activity, even buying a chair, is monitored by the authority because there is a money laundering issue with that.
I just want to say that there was a very funny joke that somebody says like ICOs went bananas because like we just had another ICO that it was basically about like investing in places to grow bananas. So I'm just trying to say that it literally goes bananas. But just in order to wrap it up and also give some time in order to you guys can have some questions, I'm just going to simplify things like how many of you know the CoinMarketCap as a website? Good, because if you own the crypto, you have to also have these informations. The more you go lower into the ranking when we're talking about different cryptocurrencies, you have to understand, maybe in the short term, you're going to have a better return on investment, but you have to make sure the volatility is going to go high. So if you're investing on Go, I'm just saying that because I'm really surprised, I have no idea why this coin is going up that fast. As much as you invest in one of them, maybe the other one is going to go the other way. But when you're on the top, then things are going to be much easier, and then it's going to be, like more secure for you and for your money. And please, one thing, take that for very serious things that put only money here that you're willing to lose. So that was the whole, maybe the last point that we're going to have here. So if you guys have any questions, we can try to just pass the microphone, maybe one of them into the audience, and then they can try to. Good, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. We're concluding the panel session. Let's thank our panelists.
You don't want to just go for the questions, or?
I think we're running out of time. I think we probably just move on to the.
It's okay. You just.
Okay, couple of questions. Okay, who's raising the hand the highest? I think you are.
Maybe you can just try to give them the microphone.
Hi. Thanks for your presentations and comments, very interesting. But I have the question about what you said about preparing ICOs, what's most important, and you said team. So how would you comment on the last CoinDesk actually poll that was done? And the question was, what's the most important factor when analyzing a potential blockchain ICO? And 38% use case, 27% token valuation and structure, 18% team, 10% token use, and 6% anticipation. Thanks.
I think we came with, well, if somebody wants to raise capital and do anything, he have to believe in his product. So this like a use case, is like an idea behind his starting anything. So I think that it's obvious that this particular person is believing in what he's doing. And when you know that when you do what you do and you believe in it, then you go to the team. But I don't remember the second thing. Maybe I should put more. Excuse me? Oh, tokens. So generally, in every startup, the product is most important. And if we talk about ecos, the technology with every eco, there is a technology inside. Most of them, they're just using technology for tokens. So generally, these are the two most important topics. And then you go to the team, which you have to build to deliver the product. So I think that we haven't been speaking about team so much as most important, because these two first things are the obvious one.
Okay, so I said that the team is the most important for me. So I'm not saying that it is for other people, but my background that comes from equity crowdfunding and crowdfunding generally, and my experience with it says that it is quite important, because if the team is right, the project behind it will be right as well. Of course, the project has to make sense. So if the team, for example, consists of 3 CEOs of big banks and stuff like that, and they are doing banana coin, then maybe don't invest in it. But it's still important, and that's why I said it.
Okay, we've got another question from the audience.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about ICOs, but I think as the market develops, we see a lot of situations where the tokens don't have so much utility. And I'm kind of interested in this thing you mentioned, ITOs, or I think share coins, I think you termed it. Is there a standard legal framework for issuing coins as shares? Is that a thing that already exists and is common? Because I don't come across that as often.
Startups are working on it, but I think that Jacek will be the person to.
Yes. So first of all, you have initiatives in some countries, in some jurisdictions that aim exactly at that. Representing not just shares but financial instruments in general on the blockchain. And the most known example is Delaware in the US. So this is something they made possible some time ago. In Europe, France is working on it, and still this year we'll have regulations that will be exactly about that. Poland also has some interesting idea in that. So there are some draft laws, draft bills that are also to some extent that will allow something like that. But it is still at the very beginning, and there is a clear need for things like equity tokens and so on. So a lot of startups are designing their own ways, like legal structures, but not based on the public law, but rather on putting together different contracts between different people to achieve the same goal of having, for example, shares on the blockchain. And Neufund and Token Bridge are just two examples of such firms that are trying to do something like that.
Witold has something to say about this. This is his area.
Okay, so if you asked me if the equity crowdfunding has the laws and solutions to create shares sold to investors without the limit of 150 people and stuff like that, I would say no. Because you can base on the existing law. It's not perfect. It's not created for this purpose, but it can be done. And this is exactly what is Jacek saying, because you can actually create a structure that is compliant. And for example, BizFund is working with the law that allows such thing. And I think there are a lot of people who are working on this right now, and not only us, not only Neufund, but all over the world. So right now, I would say that are no projects that are working companies that are doing this in case that they have a working business, but there are a lot of startups that are working on it to make it work.
And I think that the both guys here, which I want to cooperate with, so I will do this some good PR, are doing a wonderful job, because they already had some successes in the traditional business, like a token bridge by the BizFund and the Neufund, because creating the basis, creating the regulation, helping the governments to change. So I say they are enough, but rush the workout. I want to see the effects. I want to use your services. So let's finish this conversation and let's do the work. Good work, I hope.
Let's do the good work then. Thank you very much.